Hey there everybody, this is Caitlin. So I'm sure you've seen on the news and all over social media that right now there seems to be a worldwide panic over this coronavirus that now I guess has been deemed a pandemic. And as a result, I'm sure you've noticed that some of your yoga studios, some of your gyms, schools, I don't know, any kind of like places of public gathering. Right now, I'm not sure if it's confirmed, but they're thinking about canceling the St. Patrick's Day parade in New York City, to which that makes me really upset, obviously, because I'm Irish. So it's just really sad. So right now I think a lot of people are a little bit confused of what to do with themselves. You know, now if maybe they're stuck in the house, they can't go to their gym, they can't go to their yoga studio if it's closed, you know, just for sanitary reasons until, you know, this thing kind of blows over, which I hope is soon. I've decided to make a video to help you stay in your practice, or, you know, if you haven't even started practice yet, that's fine. Check in with this video. This is perfect for beginners and all levels. And yeah, so you can take this into your bedroom, into your basement, living room, wherever you have a space for a mat. I just came home from work, so I don't have any makeup on. I'm not looking all pretty or whatever. So this is, you know, just me coming down here, setting up my stuff and giving you a little yoga video. So I hope you guys enjoy, and please don't panic. Please just wash your hands, don't touch your face. We're gonna get through this, it'll be fine. So in the meantime, enjoy this video. All right, let's get started. So start in your easy seated pose. Just cross your feet, putting the arches of your feet underneath your shins, sitting up high on your sitting bones, making sure that your front hip bones match your back hip bones. You can do that by taking your first two fingers and your thumbs, place your first two fingers on your front hip bones, and then place your thumbs on your back hip bones, just to see if they're level. And if you need a little bit help with that, I like to grab some kind of blanket, pillow, cushion, something or other, just to kind of sit up a little bit on the edge, just so you can completely relax your hips and your pelvis. You kind of like let your lower belly soften. You don't want to stiffen up here. You want to just be completely relaxed. You can bring your hands down on top of your knees with your palms facing down, lifting up through your ribs, sitting up nice and tall, shoulders away from your ears, chin parallel to the mat. And then energetically thinking about bringing your crown of the head up to the sky. And then right now, just close your eyes. And then just take a moment to check in. Notice how you're feeling. Try to really kind of block out any kind of fears or anything that brought you to your mat today. Notice your mood. And check in to notice your breathing. Notice if it's fast or slow, deep or shallow, smooth or choppy. I'm really just noticing everything right now, no judgments. And then just start to breathe in through your nose, out through your nose. And then please feel free to join me in a cleansing breath, inhaling through your nose, and then exhaling out of your mouth. You can sigh if you'd like. Just really letting go of any stale energy, any kind of tension. And then let's start to move into our three-part breath. This is where we're going to inhale through our nose and exhale through our nose in 3 parts. So we're going to start by inhaling through your lower belly, moving up to your ribs, and then moving up to your chest, just about where it reaches your collarbone. And then exhale from your chest, moving through your ribs and down your lower belly, really trying not to retain any air here. So inhale, lower belly, ribs, chest. Exhale, chest, ribs, belly. Inhale, lower belly, ribs, chest. Exhale, chest, ribs, belly. And then take a few rounds on your own, only breathing in as deeply as you can before causing any stress or strain. And on your inhales, really let your lower belly fill up with air, letting your ribs expand on your inhale. And then on your exhale, feel your ribs contracting together, your outer body softening. Just focus on your breathing. Take one more round. Okay, and then circle your hands in front of your chest into prayer. Lift your heart and bow your head, keeping your eyes closed. And then slowly blink your eyes open. And then slowly lift your head. And then bring your hands back on top of your knees. And then let's just take a nice, quick neck stretch just to get started. So inhale, bring your arms up overhead. Palms touch. Exhale, bring your left hand down to the mat. Bring your right hand just over the top of your head, just gently pressing. You don't want to really push too hard, just letting gravity do most of the work here. And if you'd like, you can walk your fingertips out along the mat. Just make sure you're sitting up nice and tall. Try not to slump over, lifting up through your ribs still. And feel free to keep doing your 3-part breath here. You can close your eyes or take a soft gaze. And then on your next exhale, just bring your gaze towards the mat, towards your armpit, and then bring your hand along the back of your head, gently pressing just to get a nice stretch along the back of your neck. Again, keep sitting up nice and tall, relax your shoulders. And then on your next exhale, just bring your right hand down to the mat. And then we'll take the other side. So inhale, bring your arms up overhead, palms touch. Exhale, bring your right hand to the mat, take your left hand, bring it up over your head, gently pressing along the side of your head. Again, you can walk these fingertips out along the mat. Nice tall spine, relaxed shoulders. Breathing in through your nose and out through your nose. And then on your next exhale, start to bring your gaze down towards your mat, towards your other armpit. Take your hand, bring it along the back of your head, gently pressing to feel a stretch along the back of your neck. And just keep breathing here. Okay, then on your next exhale, just lower your arm down to the mat. And then let's take a couple of Sukhasana twists. And we're going to do this at the speed of our own breath. So for every inhale, we're going to bring our arms up overhead, palms touch. Exhale, take your left arm, cross it over your body, bringing it to your right knee, and then bringing your right arm behind you, almost like a kickstand, sitting up nice and tall on your exhale. And then inhale, arms up overhead, palms touch. Exhale, twist over to the other side, just twisting as far as you can. You don't want to cause any pain here in your back. Then inhale, arms up overhead, palms touch. Exhale, twist. Inhale, arms up. Exhale, twist. Taking nice deep breaths. Inhale, arms up. Exhale, twist. One more. Inhale, arms up. Exhale, twist. And then come back to center. Inhale, take a nice big shoulder roll. Exhale completely, and then reverse the direction. Okay, now let's move into a tabletop position. So move any blankets or blocks or any props you had out of the way, like so. And then bring your hands to the mat, spreading your fingers wide, making sure that your pointer fingers are facing towards the front of the mat. And you're grounding down through these parts or this part of your knuckles. So you don't want to put too much weight into your palm here. I can't tell you how many times I stress that in my classes. This will reduce wrist pain. So coming back to your tabletop, fingers spread, grounding down through your front finger knuckles or top finger knuckles, making sure that your shoulders are on top of your wrists and your knees are underneath your hips. Now, sometimes you might feel like your knees are a little bit or they're closer than you think. So just walk them back a little bit. And then draw your belly button up towards your spine, just so that you can keep your spine straight. You don't want to dump into your lower back because this is very painful. But having said that, let's take a couple of rounds of cat-cow. So from here, we're going to inhale, start to bring our tailbone up to the sky, arching our back, really pushing through our fingers. And then exhale, start to round your shoulders forward, arching your back, tucking your tailbone. And then inhale, come up through cow, really arching your back. And then exhale, round your back, tucking your tailbone, really pushing your shoulders away from each other like a Halloween cat. And then take a few rounds on your own, matching each movement to the speed of your own breath. And that really all depends on you. Some people's lung capacity is either more or less than others, so just breathe in as deeply as you can. Good. Okay, then after your last cow pose, come back to neutral tabletop position. Let's take a couple of calf stretches. So take your right leg, bring it behind you, bring your toes to the mat. Really press back with your heel towards the back of the room, grounding down through your front knuckles, really pushing up, broadening your shoulders, drawing your belly button up to your spine, lengthening your tailbone towards the back of the mat. And breathing, of course. Okay, then switch it out. Bring your left leg behind you, bring your toes to the mat, press back with your heel. Nice long spine, face parallel to the mat. Okay, then come back to center. And then let's just start to warm up a little bit because, to be honest, part of really staying healthy and avoiding these sort of pandemic germs is staying active and healthy and taking nice deep breaths and being, having your lungs be healthy, have your heart rate up and all that fun stuff. So let's start to warm up a little bit here. So bring your right arm out in front of you and your left leg behind you, finding like a halfway point between your foot, like a point and a flex. So you're reaching back with the ball of your foot and your heel. Ground down through your front finger knuckles, drawing your belly button to your spine. And then inhale, lengthen your spine. Exhale, start to round your back. Think about bringing your knee to your nose. You're not going to really reach there, but just crunch it in. Inhale, lengthen. Exhale, slowly crunch it in. Inhale, lengthen. Exhale, crunch. Inhale, lengthen. Exhale, crunch. One more. Inhale, lengthen. Exhale, crunch. And then come back to neutral tabletop position and just shift your hips left and right, opening up your side body and your hips. And then come back to center and we'll take the other side. So bring your left arm out in front of you, your right leg behind you. Once again, pointing, flexing, midway point, almost like a Barbie doll foot. Draw your belly button to your spine. And then inhale, lengthen your spine. Exhale, as we did before, round your back. Bring your knee towards your nose. Inhale, lengthen. Exhale, crunch it in, rounding your back. Inhale, lengthen. Exhale, crunch, really squeezing in your core. Inhale, lengthen, last time. Exhale, crunch it in. Come back to tabletop position. Shift your hips left and right. Good, now let's just take a moment. Bring your knees together and then just sit back on your heels for a moment. And if this hurts your ankles a little bit, you can come and sit up on your toes and then come back to your heels just like this. And let's just do a quick wrist stretch. So we were down on our hands and knees for a while, so just rotating your wrists, reversing the direction. And then taking one hand, pointing your fingers down, and then taking your other hand and just gently pressing on top. And switching it out. Anytime you're in down dog or tabletop and you need to just stop and take a wrist stretch, please do. It's very essential that you keep your wrists healthy. Okay, now let's come to stand tall on our knees. Bring our hands to our hips. And then we're going to reach forward with our left foot towards the front of the mat, making sure that our knee is facing the same direction as your toes. Lengthen your tailbone down, lift up through your ribs. And then slowly start to push your hips towards the front of the mat, making sure that your knee is either stacked right on top of your ankle or just behind, just depending on what kind of stretch you really want to feel in your outer hip over here. And then you can bring your hands to the top of your knees And if your knee is a little bit uncomfortable back here, feel free to take a blanket and just stick it right under your knee. Or what I like to do is I'll bring my hand to the mat real quick. I like to bring my toes to the mat and then come back up, because this way now there's less pressure on my knee. I'm kind of taking a brunt of the weight with my toes. Pushing your hips forward, lifting up through your chest, tailbone down. Don't crunch into your lower back. This is very painful. Ground down through your front big toe. And then once you feel like you have your balance, you can bring your hands to your chest into prayer pose, or you can bring your arms up overhead. And this is Anjane Asana. Just for the sake of the video, I'll put my hands here so you can see me and hear me. Now, energetically think about bringing your front foot and your back foot together almost like a scissor, or like you're kind of scrunching the mat up underneath you. This will tone your inner thighs, and I think it helps for balance. Drawing your knee into the midline in the front. Don't want to dump out or dump too far in. One more breath here. And then on your next exhale, bring your right hand, bring it to the top of your right knee. Bring your left hand down to the mat. And then inhale, lengthen your spine, bringing your chest forward. And then on your exhale, really push through your right hand on top of your right knee, opening up your chest towards your right shoulder, towards the sky. My apologies, my back is to you, but you can get a little bit of a different viewpoint. I'm gonna be facing you in the other direction. I'm keeping my spine long. I'm not dumping in forward. I'm not slumping down. I'm staying nice and strong in my arm, almost sort of leaning back with my spine, drawing my front knee in towards my body. You can bring your gaze up to the sky, or you can keep it straight in front of you or down at the mat, just depending on your kind of equilibrium or where you feel comfortable. And if you want a challenge here, you can bring your toes to the mat, lift your back knee, coming into about like a low lunge. And then you can bring your back arm up overhead for a twist. But this is entirely optional. It's just if you want to gain a little bit more strength and stability, please feel free to take that modification. And then if your knee was up, bring it down. Bring your gaze towards the mat. Take your right hand, place it right next to your left hand. So your right foot is on the outside of your right hand. Walk your right foot over towards the edge of the mat. You can turn your toes off a little bit. You don't have to keep it completely forward. Just depending on your hip flexibility, I like to turn my toes off. Make sure your knee is in the same direction as your toes. Inhale, lengthen your spine, square your hips off to the front of the mat. And then exhale from here. See if you can come down onto your forearms for lizard pose. Now this is a pretty deep stretch. So if you're down here and you can't really like straighten your spine and you feel really intense pain, feel free to come right back up to your hands. You just want to feel a nice hip stretch. You don't want to hurt yourself. And if you're down on your forearms, really think about drawing your chest forward, bringing your face down to the mat, because you don't want to round your back in this pose. You want to keep it really straight. And breathe, of course. The nice theory I like to tell everybody is if you can't smile and breathe through a pose, then you are doing too much. Your body is not happy right now. And you want to back out of the pose and take a different modification for yourself. Just always listen to your body. And then again, just as we did in that twist, you can bring your back knee off the mat if you'd like. But again, it's entirely optional. You're still getting the same hip opener with your knee down. Okay, now if you were down on your forearms, come back up to your hands. And then walk your right foot in between your hands so you're framing your front foot. And then bring your hands up to the top of your right knee. And then slowly make your way back to stand tall on your knees. If you need to take a couple of steps in order to get there, please do, whatever it takes. And then come back to stand tall on your knees, and we'll do the other side. So take your left foot, boom, bring it out towards the front of the mat, carefully. And again, as before, my right knee is a little bit funky, so I'm gonna bring my back toes to the mat. Sit up nice and tall, hands on my hips, lengthening my tailbone down. Chest forward and up, and then slowly start to bring your hips forward. Now again, if you feel like you have a little bit more flexibility and you start to notice your knee is coming past your ankle, slide your foot up a little bit. This way you can get a nice stretch. Your knee is protected because it's staying on top of your ankle or just behind. And then bring your hands to the top of your knee, or bring them to your chest into prayer pose, Anjali Mudra, or up over your head for Anjali Asana on the left side. Now for the sake of the video, I'm going to keep my hands right here so you can see me and hear me. Ground down through your front big toe. lengthening your tailbone, tall spine. One more breath. Okay, and then on your next exhale, bring your left hand on top of your left knee. Bring your right hand down to the mat. Inhale, lengthen your spine. And then exhale, start to turn your upper body towards your left shoulder, gently pushing through your left hand through the top of your left knee. And again, you can bring your gaze up to the sky, or right out in front of you, or down at the mat, just depending on where you feel comfortable. And if you'd like, once again, you could take a modification by lifting your back knee off the mat and bringing your top hand up to the sky. Again, it's optional, and if you're in this position, make sure this knee, you're drawing it in towards your body. Don't let it come out to the side. Nice in towards the midline. Now, if you're up on your knee, slowly come back down. Bring your hand on top of your knee. And then bring your left hand down next to your right. Walk your left foot towards the edge of the mat. And have your toes facing off the mat, knee in the same direction. Square your hips and your chest off to the front of the mat. Inhale, lengthen your spine. And then exhale as we did before. See if you can come down onto your forearms. Now every side is different. So for me, I'm slightly more flexible on this side. But again, if you can't smile or breathe during this pose, then you need to back out, come back up to your hands. I'm just going to stay right here and meet you guys here if you're up on your hands. Again, you're not any less of a yogi if you have to take a different modification than someone else. It's your practice, it's your body. You don't want to hurt yourself, and you want to come back to your practice. You don't want to hurt yourself and have to skip a couple of days to recover. Yoga is about feeling better. It's not about pushing yourself or hurting yourself. And then returning back to the lizard pose, bringing your chest forward and up and breathing. And again, if you want, you can lift your back knee off the mat. Entirely optional. One more breath. Okay, now if you were down in your forearms, come back up to your hands. And then walk your left hand in between your hands so you're framing the front foot. And then instead of coming back to stand tall, just come back any way you can into tabletop position. If you need to shove your foot back there with your hands, that's fine. And then from here, just walk your feet back a couple of inches, bringing your toes to the mat. Starting to lift your knees off the mat, grounding down through your front knuckles, pushing your hips up and back, bringing your tailbone to the sky, rolling your shoulders away from each other as if to close off your armpits, and coming into downward facing dog. Now notice here, I'm forming a straight line from my wrist all the way up to my tailbone. And in order for me to do that, I have to bend my knee slightly in order to create mobility in my pelvis. So if you notice, if I start to bring my heels down and straighten my legs, my lower back is starting to round. We don't want that. So come to your tippy toes if you need to. Bend your knees slightly so you can bring your tailbone up to the sky comfortably. You want to form about a 90-degree angle with your hips. Relaxing your neck and your shoulders. Okay, and then on your next inhale, come to your tippy toes. Look towards the front of the mat. Exhale, bend your knees. And then walk your feet up to the top of the mat to meet your hands in a forward fold. And then from here, separate your feet just about slightly wider than your hips distance. Turn your toes in slightly so the outside edges of your feet are just parallel to the outsides of the edges of your mat. Bring your hands to your shins. Inhale, halfway lift your spine, keeping it flat, drawing your shoulders back, chest forward. And then on your exhale, grab opposite elbows, take a nice bend in your knees, and then come into a forward fold here. And again, you want to make sure that your back is pouring out of your hips. So you don't want to round forward with your shoulders. You want to bend your knees, soften them, and really try to draw your chest towards your thighs. So as much of a bend in your knees as you need, please feel free to take that. Relaxing your neck and your shoulders. If you want to sway left and right, that's a good option here for ragdoll. Loosen up your lower back. And breathing. Close your eyes or keep a soft gaze, depending on your balance. Okay, and then come back to center. Bring your hands to the tops of your feet. Inhale, halfway lift your spine. Exhale, bring your hands to your hips. And then inhale, come to stand tall with a straight spine. And then on your exhale, bring your hands to your chest for Anjali Mudra. Now just take a moment, come back to your breath. Ground down through your feet. Find a soft gaze in front of you or close your eyes. We were just upside down for a bit, so you're going to feel some of the blood rushing from your head. Just take a moment really to come back to center. Okay, then slowly blink your eyes open. Bring your hands to your sides and then walk to the front of your mat. Bring your feet together with your big toes touching, and if that is not accessible to you or you feel a little bit wobbly, just separate your feet just about a fist width distance apart. Ground down through your toes. Soften your knees, engaging your quads, squeezing them together. Tucking your tailbone under, lengthening it down. Raising up through your ribs, neutral pelvis. Shoulders away from your ears and chin parallel to the mat. And once again, as we did earlier, just energetically bringing the crown of your head up to the sky. Now, Tadasana Mountain Pose is a very, very essential, fundamental, or foundational, whichever the word is, pose. And you're going to feel your muscles start to activate. Almost like you have this potential energy. It's building up. And you're getting ready to flow. So let's come into a couple of rounds of Sun Salutation A. So ground down through your feet. Exhale, ground down through all four corners of your feet. Inhale, arms up overhead, palms touch. Exhale, forward fold with a flat back, bending your knees, coming down to either your knees, your shins, your feet, or the ground, whichever you can reach. And then inhale, halfway lift your spine, bringing your hands to your shins. And then exhale, forward fold, plant your hands on the mat, and then step back into plank pose. Now, from your plank, you can either inhale, push your shoulders forward, tuck your elbows in, lower all the way down to the mat, letting your chest land first. Or if you want to take a modified chaturanga, in your plank, you just come to modified plank, dropping your knees, tuck your elbows in, and then lowering your chest and then your chin. Untucking your toes behind you. Inhale your chest off the mat for Cobra. Make sure your elbows are bent and squeeze into your body. A lot of people try to straighten their arms. Look at my lower back. I'm ready to kind of die right now. So you only have to come up a little bit, bending your elbows. Exhale, lower down. And then from here, bring your toes to the mat. Inhale, push yourself up through modified plank or plank, keeping your back flat. And then exhale, hips up and back. Downward facing dog. Feel free to take any adjustments you need in your down dog. You can walk it out if you'd like. Keep your energy levels up, keep your blood flowing. We're just finding stillness. Relaxing your neck and your shoulders. Okay, then inhale, come to your tippy toes, look towards the front of the mat. Exhale, bend your knees and then walk your feet up to meet your hands at the top of the mat in a forward fold. Inhale, halfway lift your spine. Exhale, forward fold. And then inhale, look to the top of the mat, start to come up with a straight spine, arms up overhead, palms touch. Exhale, hands to your chest, Anjali Mudra. And come back to your breath. Now I kind of walked you through that a little bit. I kind of broke it up just so that you can take different modifications in the Sun A. Let's try to do that in a more continuous flow. So for every move we take, we're going to inhale and exhale. So we won't be stopping. We're going to do it consistently in the vinyasa format, which vinyasa means matching your movements to the speed of your breath. So come back to Tadasana Mountain Pose, feet together, nice and strong. And then exhale, ground down through all four corners of your feet. Inhale, arms up overhead, palms touch. Exhale, forward fold, flat back, coming down to your knees, your shins, your feet, or the ground. Inhale, halfway lift your spine. Exhale, forward fold, plant your hands, step back into plank or modified plank. And then inhale, push your shoulders past your wrists, lower all the way down to the mat, letting your chest land first, or knees, chest, chin. Untuck your toes. Inhale your chest up for Cobra, elbows bent. Exhale, lower down. And then inhale, push yourself up through plank or modified plank with your knees down. Exhale, hips up and back. Downward facing dog. Come back to your breath. If you need to take any cleansing breaths at any point, please do. Inhale through your nose. Exhale from your mouth. Okay, then inhale, come to your tippy toes, look towards the front of the mat. Exhale, bend your knees, and then walk your feet up to meet your hands at the top of the mat in a forward fold. Inhale, halfway lift your spine. Exhale, lower down. And then inhale, start to look towards the top of the mat. Come up with a straight spine, arms up overhead, palms touch. Exhale, hands to your chest, Anjali Mudra. Come back to your breath. Start to notice if your heart rate has picked up a little bit. Just use your breath to slow it down. Okay, now bring your hands to your sides. Come back to Tadasana Mountain Pose. Exhale, ground down through all four corners of your feet. Inhale, arms up overhead, palms touch. Exhale, forward fold, flat back, coming down to your knees, your shins, or your feet. Inhale, halfway lift your spine. Exhale, forward fold, step back into plank. Then inhale, push your shoulders past your wrists, lower all the way down to the mat, or take knees, chest, chin. Untuck your toes, inhale your chest up for cobra, elbows bent. Exhale, lower down. And then inhale, push yourself up through plank or modified plank. And then exhale, hips up and back, downward facing dog. And then just take one breath here. Okay, then lift your right foot off the mat, bend your knee, and then slowly start to bring your right foot towards the front of the mat in between your front hands. So if you need to take your foot and sort of grab it and place it up there, that's fine. And then take your back foot, plant it down on the mat, make sure that your heel and your back arch are in alignment. Start to straighten your spine, and then slowly make your way up to standing with your front knee bent, arms in a T, and then gazing over your front middle finger. Now make sure that your back foot is turned in slightly. Your hips are completely open, so if you start to notice that your back knee is dumping, or your back hip is starting to dump in, that means that you're bending too far into your warrior two. So just back out of it a little bit. Just allow some room for your hips to be open. Raising up through your ribs, shoulders away from your ears. Once again, gazing up towards your middle finger. Grounding down through your front foot. Check and make sure that your front knee is not dumping in, but it's completely in the same direction as your toes. One more breath. And then inhale, flip your front palm. Start to bring your upper body towards the back of the mat for reverse warrior. And you can just let your back hand just come to your thigh. And you don't have to take a super bend behind you. You just want to make sure that your front knee is bent. You just bring your arm straight up. And then on your next exhale, come back to warrior two for a moment. Bend your front elbow, and then flip your palm like you're holding a tray. And then start to tilt your upper body down towards your front thigh. Bring your forearm down on top of your thigh, and then bring your back arm up overhead for side angle stretch, or you can bring your top hand to your hip. Just make sure you're opening your top shoulder. Make sure your front knee is not dumping in. Mine started to do that, so I had to check in a little bit. And really press through your forearm to create space in your neck so you're not crunching in and creating any pain. You just want to lift up, open up your belly button to the sky, your top shoulder to the sky. And you want to kind of make sure that your shoulders are stacked on top of your standing leg. Opening up your chest, almost like you're leaning against something, like your back is up against the wall. Side angle stretch. You're going to start to feel some sweat here, I bet. Okay, then on your next inhale, come back to warrior two for a moment. Straighten your front knee, but don't lock it. Take your hips, bring them towards the back of the mat, upper body towards the front of the mat so you can't go any further. And then just tilt your upper body down. And you can bring your hand to either your knee or your shin or your ankle, just depending on how flexible you are in your side body. But you don't want to dump your body forward. You want to keep it stacked on top of your standing leg, opening up your shoulders and your belly button, just like we did in side angle stretch. This is triangle pose, Trikonasana. And once again, make sure that you're kind of envisioning like your back is up against a wall or glass. So your back of your head, the backs of your shoulders, and your glutes, your hips, everything is up against that wall. One more breath. And then slowly bring your gaze towards your front foot. Bend into that front knee, just coming back up to Warrior Two for a moment. And now from here, take your arms and then just kind of cartwheel them towards the front of the mat. And then bring them down to the mat, framing your front foot. And then flip your back foot so you're standing on your toes in a low lunge. And then here, take your front foot, step back into plank or modified plank, and then take a vinyasa. So whatever you want to decide to do. Push your shoulders past your wrists, lower all the way down to the mat, or take knees, chest, shin. Untuck your toes. Inhale your chest up for cobra. Exhale, lower down. And then inhale, push yourself up through plank or modified plank. Exhale, hips up and back. Downward facing dog. And come back to your breath. I'm sure you built up a lot of heat. That's good. Take one more breath in your down dog. And then let's take the other side. So lift your left foot off the mat, bend your knee. Slowly bring it up towards the front of the mat, in between your front hands into a low lunge. Take your back foot, plant your heel down. Make sure that your back arch is in alignment with your front heel. Lengthen your spine, come to your tippy toes if you need, or your fingertips if you need to. And then start to come standing up tall, opening up your arms in the T position. Bending into your front knee, making sure that your knee is not coming past your ankle, but stacked on top or just behind, just like an Anjaneyasana. And bring your gaze towards your front middle finger. And make sure to check in with this back arm. Sometimes, like if I'm taking pictures of myself, I'll notice that my back arm is kind of falling down. Just make sure that it's nice and strong behind you. Again, making sure your back foot is turned in a little bit, like 45 degrees. Your hips are open. Your front knee is facing the same direction as your front toes. And you're breathing. And then on your next inhale, flip your front palm. Start to bring your upper body towards the back of your mat for reverse warrior. And make sure you keep that bend in your front knee, because sometimes you'll kind of start to straighten that leg. I'm guilty of it too. So just check in, make sure you keep your knee bent in the front. And then on your next exhale, come back to Warrior Two for a moment. Bend your front elbow, flip your palm, bring your forearm down to the top of your thigh, and then bring your back arm up overhead, or keep it on your hip, just depending on your shoulder flexibility. You might feel uncomfortable or feel like you're kind of scrunching up. So you can bring your hand to your hip, check your front knee, make sure it's not dumping in, grounding down through your front big toe, opening up your belly button to the sky, keeping that bottom hand turned up, like you're still holding that tray. Like you're some cool waiter that's doing a nice pose while serving food. Everything is stacked on top of your standing leg, your front leg. One more breath. And then on your next inhale, come back to Warrior Two for a moment. Straighten your front knee, but don't lock it. Bring your hips towards the back of the mat, upper body towards the front so you can't go any further. And then start to tilt your upper body down. You can bring your hand to your shin or your knee or your ankle. I can kind of come down to my ankle on this side a little bit better than the other, but I prefer to stay here because I don't want to rip anything here. I don't know, I just always get a weird fear that I'm going to like rip my hip open. So just go to where you feel comfortable. Try not to put too much weight into the hand. Kind of use your back muscles really to hold you up. So you're kind of like a, I don't know, like a marionette or something. You're just using it as a, kind of like a guide. Make sure everything's open, everything's pressed against that imaginary glass behind you. Okay, and then inhale, come back to Warrior Two for a moment. And then from here, cartwheel your arms forward, framing your front foot. Flipping that back foot, coming up on your toes to a low lunge. Step back into plank and take your vinyasa. Inhale, push your shoulders past your wrists, lower all the way down to the mat. Or take knees, chest, chin. Untuck your toes behind you. Inhale your chest up for cobra. Exhale, lower down. And then inhale, push yourself up through modified plank or plank. Exhale, hips up and back. Downward facing dog. Return to your breath, relaxing your neck. You can shake your head yes or no, maybe. And just finding stillness in your down dog. Okay, now from here, lift your left foot, bend your knee, and then slowly as before, bring it up towards the front of the mat, framing your front foot. Now, instead of dropping your back knee, kind of take your right foot and then shift it off to the side a little bit. Then drop your foot. So this way you're kind of like, your feet are almost in train tracks here. And then lengthen your spine and then start to come to stand up tall, keeping your hips squared off to the front of the mat, coming up into warrior one. Now again, a lot of people have trouble in this pose because they can't get their self to be, their hips and their chest forward. What I had you do before you come up was move that foot. This way now your hips are situated so that they're facing the front of the mat because you have this foot along the outside. It's not completely behind the front foot. Your chest is forward, and you can bring your arms up to the sky, or you can bring them to your chest. Again, if you have like a tense neck or shoulders, you could take this modification. Or if you want to try something different, you could bring your hands behind you, interlace your fingers, roll your shoulders back, and then start to bring your shoulder blades together. It's called yoga mudra. Bring your gaze up to the sky, around in front of you. Now, if you were experimenting with yoga mudra, just slowly release your hands, bringing them back into Anjali mudra. And then just slowly start to lower your body, bringing your hands back to the mat, framing your front foot, flipping your toes, the back toes back, and then come back into plank. And take a vinyasa or just meet us in down dog if you're getting tired. That's perfectly fine. I'm just going to take down dog for now. Just want to meet you guys where you are. You can walk that out a little bit if you'd like. Okay, so take the other side. Lift your right foot off the mat. Bend your knee. Bring your foot towards the front of the mat, framing your front foot with your hands. And then just as before, just check in with your back foot. Kind of hop it out to the side, then drop your foot. So you're in a train track situation with your feet here. Lengthen your spine, bring your chest forward. Start to come standing up tall, arms up overhead for warrior one once again. And as you can see from here, my hips are facing the front of the mat and so is my chest. This is what you call a closed hip pose. Warrior two is an open hip and this is a closed hip. Closed hip poses are a little bit challenging, to be honest. You would think that they'd be a little bit easier, but the alignment is a little bit different. You're really grounding down through your back foot. You don't have to take a super bend in your front knee. Just feel the strength in your feet. Again, if you want to experiment with yoga mudra, just wrap your hands behind your back, interlace your fingers, take a big shoulder roll, and then slowly start to bring your shoulder blades together and straightening your arms. Or you can keep them bent and just keeping your shoulder blades together. That's fine too. And then bringing up your gaze, lengthening your tailbone down, of course, and breathing. Okay, now if your hands are in yoga mudra, you can bring them back into Anjali mudra. And then from here, just slowly bring your hands back to the mat, framing your front foot. Flip your back foot so you're back on your toes in low lunge. Step back into plank. And then just for the sake of this video, let's do one more vinyasa. Woohoo! So inhale, push your shoulders past your wrists, lower all the way down to the mat or take knees, chest, chin. Untuck your toes. Lift your chest up for cobra on your inhale. Exhale, lower down. And then inhale, push yourself up through plank or modified plank, which I've been doing the whole time. Exhale, hips up and back. Downward facing dog. Just relax into this down dog. We're going to start to wind it down, so take nice deep breaths. Okay, Okay, now inhale, come to your tippy toes, look towards the front of the mat, and then start to lower your knees to the mat. Coming back into tabletop position. And then once you're here, bring your big toes together to touch. Separate your feet about as wide as the mat. And then slowly start to push your hips towards your sitting bones. Coming into modified child's pose. And if you like, you can extend your arms out in front of you, bringing your forehead down to the mat. Or what I like to offer as an alternative, if you have tight shoulders, is to make fists with your hands, stack your fists, and then bring your forehead down on top of your fists. This way you can feel the benefit of kind of relaxing your upper body. Relax into this pose. Coming back to your breath. Just relaxing. Feel yourself grounding into the earth. Just one more breath. Okay, now if you have your arms extended, just slowly walk your hands back to come to tabletop position, or if you have your fists stacked, you can just bring your hands down to the mat and slowly make your way back to tabletop. And then once you're here, just make your way back into easy seated pose, Sukhasana, happy pose. Okay, then when you come back into Sukhasana, just take a moment. Bring your hands on top of your knees, sit up nice and tall. Just take a moment to check in. Notice how you feel. And then blink your eyes open. Inhale, take a nice big shoulder roll, lengthen your spine. And then exhale, start to tilt forward with your pelvis, with your hips. Bring your chest forward towards the mat in a seated forward fold. And don't round your shoulders forward. Keep them plugged in. Keep your spine completely straight as you come down. And if this is as far as you can get, then that is perfectly fine. And you can keep your hands on your knees, or you can bring them down towards your mat or the ground. Lengthen your spine. Tuck your chin slightly. And breathe. Inhale, halfway lift your spine. And then exhale, so you can go a little bit deeper in this fold. Don't push yourself. Just go as far as you can comfortably. You just want to feel sensations, never pain. You always want to make sure you can return to your mat. And then slowly start to push yourself with your hands to sit up nice and tall. And then switch out the cross of your legs. So bring your non-dominant leg in front. Sit up high in your sitting bones. Inhale, big shoulder roll. And then exhale, as we did before, just start to bring your chest forward, shoulders plugged in, straight spine. Keep your hands on your knees, or you can bring them down to the floor or mat. Tuck your chin slightly, long spine. You're tilting from your pelvis. You feel a nice stretch along your lower back. And then inhale, lengthen your spine halfway, and then exhale, so you can come down a little bit deeper on this side. It's going to feel slightly different, obviously, because you have the non-dominant leg in front. Just go as far as you feel comfortable. And breathing, of course. And then slowly start to make your way back, sitting up nice and tall. Now move any blankets or blocks out of the way. Extend your legs out in front of you. Bend your knees. Move my little radio pack here. Have your knees bent, bring your hands underneath your knees, and then slowly start to lower yourself one vertebrae at a time, using your core a little bit here. And then just lower yourself until you're flat on your back. And then once you're down, just bring your knees into your chest, bring your hands on top of your knees and take a double knee hug. Make sure that your lower back and your tailbone are on the mat. You want to have your entire spine making contact with the mat. And then from here, you can rock left and right, massaging out your lower back. If you have any sciatica problems or if you sit at a desk all day, this is like heaven right now. This is my favorite thing to do. Get really tight and tense down there from sitting, or even if you stand, you can get tense there. Okay, then you can stop rocking. Bring your arms out to the sides like airplane wings. And then take one of your feet and just shift your hips over towards the right edge of your mat. Tuck your knees back into your chest. Inhale, lengthen your spine. And then exhale, slowly drop your knees over towards the left. Move my little radio out of the way. And then bring your gaze over your right shoulder. Now, if you're having trouble doing your twist, you can take a block or a blanket or a pillow and just place it right underneath your bottom knee so you have something to help kind of take the pressure off of your side body if you're feeling it in your outer hip. Try to engage both of your shoulders on the mat. And just breathing in through your nose, out through your nose. If you'd like, you can return to your 3-part breath if that's comfortable for you. And as you inhale, feel your ribs making contact with the mat. And then on your exhale, contracting away. And slowly bring your knees back to your chest. And then take one or both of your feet and just shift your hips over towards the left edge of your mat. Bring your knees back to your chest. Inhale, lengthen your spine, and then exhale, slowly drop your knees over towards the right. Grab your block, place it under your knees if you need it. Both shoulders on the mat. And then bring your gaze over your left shoulder this time. Now, I may have mentioned in one of my previous videos if you've watched, but twists are so important for you. They're so important to do at the end of your yoga practice or any kind of exercise. I feel is a great way to keep your spine healthy. It's also really great for moving your blood along, just kind of helping detox your body. Really great for digestion. That's one of my favorite parts about this is, feeling a little bit sluggish. If your diet is a little, just take a nice twist or do any kind of flow with any kind of twists. But even if you want to take a minute just to lie on your back, twist left and right. This will help along with that. Okay, and slowly bring your knees back to your chest. Then you can straighten your spine out along the mat. Take another double knee hug, drawing your knees to your chest. Squeezing your knees into your body. And then on your next exhale, extend your legs out from under you, bringing each foot to each bottom corner of the mat. And then you can let your toes fall off to the side. Keep your hands off the mat slightly with your palms facing up towards the sky. And really start to relax here. And then before we settle into our Shavasana, let's just do a quick body scan just to make sure that we've released tension all over our bodies. So we'll start with our toes. Just releasing any tension there. And then moving up to the bottoms of our feet, the arches of our feet and our heels, the tops of our feet, our ankles, moving up to your shins and your calves, the backs of your knees, the tops of your knees, your hamstrings, your quads, and your glutes and your hips, your belly and your lower back, your spine, your sternum, your shoulder blades and your chest and your collarbones, the tops of your shoulders, your upper arms, your lower arms, your wrists, your palms, tops of your hands, your fingers, and your fingertips. Then moving back to your throat, the back of your neck, loosening up your jaw, and all your facial muscles, and your eyebrows, your forehead, and just letting the back of your head sink into the mat, letting go of any forced or unnatural breathing, and just allowing yourself to relax and remain still with your eyes closed. If any outside thoughts come in, just acknowledge them, and then just let them go without judgment, and really finding stillness and relaxation in this final resting pose. Now I invite you to pause this video and stay in Shavasana as long as you'd like. But just for the sake of this video, start to deepen your breath and we'll start to come out of Shavasana. Awakening your body from the inside before we start to wake it up on the outside. And then start to bring small movements back into your fingers and your toes. Bringing in more movement in your wrists and your ankles. Reversing the direction. And then inhale, bring your arms up over your head for a morning stretch. Pointing your toes, really reaching. And then on your exhale, tuck your knees into your chest. Roll onto your right side using your right arm as a pillow, coming into fetal position. And just taking a moment to relax into this pose, keeping your eyes closed. And then when you're ready, using your hands, slowly start to make your way back into easy seated pose, Sukhasana. Letting your head be the last thing to come up. And then come to sit up tall. And you can either bring your hands on top of your knees facing down, or you can turn your palms up to the sky. Having your palms down symbolizes grounding. Having your palms facing up symbolizes receiving. So receiving energy, receiving love, whatever you want to receive right now. And then just take a moment to notice how you feel. Notice how you feel as compared to how you felt at the beginning of this practice. Notice your breathing. Notice if it's a little smoother, a little slower, a little bit deeper. Notice your mood. Notice if you're a little bit more calm, more grounded, but maybe a little bit rejuvenated. And just note that you always have the capability to come back to how you feel right now. Whether it's an hour flow or a 30-minute flow or just 5 minutes sitting anywhere, breathing, maybe a short guided meditation. Whatever you do, whatever you can make time for throughout your day, as long as it remains consistent, you will start to see results. Mental results, physical results, whatever you need. You always have the power to do that for yourself. And then to close out the practice, circle your hands in front of your chest, lift your heart and bow your head. And I'd like to take this time to thank you for letting me be your guide in your practice today. May the light in me see, honor, and recognize the light in you. Om Shanti Shanti Om.